One of the funniest trends with the 3D Zelda games is the increasing length of their openings. From Ocarina onward, it felt like they slowly got longer and longer. And I definitely felt it the most with Skyward Sword. This game is very near and dear to my heart. But I also get why a lot of people don't like it. I'm able to look past its flaws because there's a lot of stuff here I really like. Who says I have to talk about good openings in this series? Oh, I did. I can fuck off. I didn't know what I was talking about. So let's dust off my Wii U. Literally, slap on a Wiimote and take a look at the opening to The Legend of Zelda: Skyward Sword. Spoilers, by the way. The game just got re-released. I feel the need to say that. Before we even jump into the game, we get a Wind Waker-style exposition dump. One day there was a massive crack in the world, and a horde of monsters came flooding out of it. Their leader, Demise, had two goals: steal the Triforce, and murder people along the way. Like a lot of people. To save the humans, the goddess Hylia gathered them all up, lifted the ground underneath their feet, and sent them to the skies. Unable to deal with the horde, the goddess Hylia sealed Demise away and hid the Triforce. Generations later, and people forgot about what lays beneath the sea of clouds, something that was created by the goddess to protect them. There's one key line at the end of this scene. A new legend will be forged in your hands. Which could just be a fun way of saying, hey player, we got an adventure for you. But for the greater Zelda universe, this game accomplishes three things. The first one comes up in the foreshadowing in this line. The Master Sword is forged in this game. The second part of Link's journey is him going around and reforging the Goddess Sword into the Master Sword. I find it to be a neat bit of foreshadowing right off the sword, because it's hidden behind that generic get ready for adventure line. Overall, I like the backstory that's given. Once we load into the file, we're given a flyby of Skyloft with Zelda and Link's Loftwings. Zelda is soft introduced. She gives her Loftwing a letter and then is distracted by something. We first see Link having a dream of the two most reoccurring things in this game: Fi talking to Link without the player's consent, and Demise, which is the second time he shows up so far. Zelda's Loftwing wakes Link up and delivers the letter, which realistically is just a call-out tweet about how Link keeps sleeping in and reminds him that they have plans today. On your way to meeting Zelda, you can talk to different side characters, and they all set up their side quests later on throughout the game. Like Fledge. He's completely optional to talk to, and it sets up his side quest of him being a little bitch. Oh god, this is just a tutorial, isn't it? At least it's optional. Link then takes his morning shit. We can talk to Pippin, who is the biggest Chad in this game. More on him later. After we leave the Knight Academy that Link goes to, we get a way too long tutorial. The framing around this tutorial is super dumb. You're forced to save Zelda's dad's cat by one of the professors at the Knight Academy. This whole thing could just been one quick text box that's like, hey, this is how you do it. Like some certain game from 2017. You meet up with Zelda after getting another goddamn tutorial. I'm going to save my complaints and praises for this game later, but I just have to mention that this tutorial needlessly pisses me off. You meet up with Zelda and she does the Zelda turn. The song she sings, the song she is singing is literally the end of the game, by the way. And is the reverse of Zelda's Lullaby. Other than the foreshadowing all over the place and the talk about the ceremony, the scene exists to establish two things: the relationship between Zelda and Link and his bird. I'll admit, the bird is a weird thing to set up alongside this game's love interest, but it does relate to what you're going to do in the ceremony, and emphasizes the importance of the Loftwings. Zelda has to do all of the heavy lifting for the relationship here because Link doesn't speak, even down to the anxiety about the ceremony. It all lands on Zelda. Based off of what she says in this scene, you can tell that she has a high opinion of Link. After watching this scene, it's safe to assume that they're boys. Possibly homies that kiss each other goodnight. Zelda's dad shows up to ruin the moment and clumsily gives exposition about the Loftwings. They're sent by the goddess to keep everyone safe. Lynx is a rare breed, long thought to be extinct, and he shares a special connection with it that Zelda is jealous of. More importantly, Zelda is nervous that Link is going to lose the ceremony because she wants to do the closing part with him. There's a race portion to this ceremony, by the way. The winner of it closes the ceremony with the person who's acting as the goddess for it. Not being able to emotionally handle the possibility of Link losing this race, Zelda yeets him off the ledge, ignoring Link about not being able to sense his bird, which we saw. Hey, look at that. Link's bird isn't showing up. We need that to win the race. And not fall to her death. I mean, if I fell there, that could have been very bad. She saves you, then goes to apologize to her Loftwing, not you, the guy she just threw off of a cliff, and then you go to find yours. That whole scene that follows Gaepora explaining Link and his Loftwing's relationship makes what he says redundant. Even like him explaining Zelda's and Link's relationship could have been cut. The game shows, then tells us, and then shows what he just told us. Later on, Groose naturally brings up that Zelda and Link have been friends forever anyways. Just cut him from the scene. He ruins the moment, and he explains everything worse than the game already does. Link goes off to look for his bird, while Zelda tends to hers, and Gaepora pretends to help. Walking around town, there's a bunch of setup you can get for side quests, and set up for a late game event. You can go back to the academy and ask Pippin and Fledge for help. Fledge clearly knows something is up, but isn't talking. Pippin says he'll help by asking around the academy, the place you just finished asking around, which is just pure ultimate Chad energy. And then you head towards the plaza to get introduced to the best. What the f do you want, kid? Of course it's another tutorial. You can actually skip this one by going the wrong way, but it's still another goddamn tutorial. You walk past that kid, and you finally get to meet the greatness that is Groose. The introduction to this dude is great. We very quickly get to know his personality, what he wants, Zelda, and who he hates. Your lazy ass. Why did the game highlight alone time? He just exudes pure douchebag alpha energy, and the game does such a good job showing it so quickly. When Zelda shows up in the scene, we get to see another side of her and Groose. She has the one thing that Groose claims Link doesn't have, a backbone, and she can be a little snarky. With Groose, he chubs up the near side of Zelda and is just putty as soon as she shows up. Even his music deflates. Onto the matter of Link's Loftwing. They definitely kidnapped it. Everyone around town seemingly blames them, and they were literally talking about it before you show up. They all play innocent, and somehow Goose is able to keep the lie up in front of Zelda. Then they fuck off. This scene fills in a lot of the gaps that would exist if you cut out Gaepora's scene from earlier. He talks about how special Link's Loftwing is, how close Link and Zelda are, and gives a bit more about the upcoming race. He doesn't mention the stuff about the goddess, but I feel like that doesn't need to be mentioned at this point in the game. Just do it at the ceremony. After Groose leaves, Zelda tells you to go talk to Pippin. Fuck yeah, dude. When you find Pippin, he's with Fledge, and he successfully peer pressures Fledge into telling Link where Groose took your bird. It's by a waterfall. Considering there's only one body of water on this floating rock, it's probably going to be very simple to find out where this waterfall... Oh, you're going to give me a tutorial about using the map. Okay. Fledge apologizes for being so weak, giving the last bit of setup for his side quest, and Pippin tells you to get a sword before you venture into the cave. You grab the sword, and then skip the tutorial on how to use it, because this is your 4th time playing this game, and you're just replaying it right now to write a video about its intro. That might just be me. Thank God they let you skip that tutorial. They try to guilt you into doing it, but you can leave. Once you leave and holy hell, stop giving me tutorials and let me save my bird, damn it! You go into the cave, and it's the one they actually pan to when they tell you to find your bird. Cheeky f***. After a mini dungeon, you find your bird and meet up with Zelda. And it's confirmed here that Zelda is hearing voices. Zelda talks about if there's a land below and how she wants to explore it, and asks if Link heard any voices. It shows that Zelda has some aspirations. She wants to explore the world. She even sought out her father's books to read about it. She thinks the voice might be coming from there too. We save our bird and get another... And now we can participate in the race. The winner of the race will finish the ceremony with Zelda and become a junior knight. Despite Groos's cheating efforts, Link wins because of plot armor. Out of excitement, Zelda yeets herself off of a cliff to go celebrate with Link because Skyward Sword Zelda is the best Zelda, and they go off to the goddess statue. Zelda does a speech that has some really good lines in it when you factor in Zelda being the reincarnation of the goddess and Link her chosen hero, which is the second thing that this game does for the greater Zelda universe. I'll get more into it when I'm praising the game. But Skyward Sword goes way harder than every other Zelda game when setting up the relationship between these two. Zelda, you invaded my personal space. Can you please step back? They go out flying once they're done the ceremony, and Zelda is about to ask Link to go commit some premarital sex. As punishment for her attempt to sin, a tornado shows up and drags Zelda down below the clouds and launches Link far away. Link has another dream. This time Demise shows up and consumes Zelda, and Fi tells Link he has a mission to partake in. Note that she doesn't say it's his mission, but that he's a key player in an important mission. Skyward Sword marks a key point in what Nintendo has been doing with 3D Zelda games lately, where Link isn't really the main character, and it's more so Zelda's story. You go through her story as Link in these two games. Link follows Fi to the goddess statue and finds a chamber inside of it with a sword. Gaepora shows up and tells you an old tale that was passed down to him. When the light of the sword shines, Demise will rise, and a hero will come to wield that light to destroy it. The sword started glowing recently, probably around the same time Zelda started hearing the voices and Link started getting those dreams, which was all part of the goddess's plan and Demise's plan. Link takes the sword and uses its light to activate something that pierces the clouds so Link can get down below. The next day, Link gets prepared to head out after 3 people all tell you how to get prepared, and then there's one more tutorial that you really don't need. Link jumps down the clouds, and that concludes our opening at time. Talking to everyone I could have while pausing to take notes, this opening took me around 2 hours and 52 minutes. Way too long for an adventure game in my opinion. It's a slow burn. It has characters it wants to introduce and a story it wants to set up, which I don't mind in an RPG. But there's a lot of stuff in here I don't like, and it just feels very long. We're like, what, 14 minutes into this video already? Before we go into the pros and cons on this intro, we gotta take off our Wiimotes and put on our Joy-Cons and see if Skyward Sword HD fixes any issues that I might have with this intro. To be fully honest with you guys, I haven't played through the intro on Skyward Sword HD yet, because I do not own it yet. Yes, I picked up everything surrounding the game because these are already sold out, and I guarantee it will be very easy to find a print of a Zelda game. So I'm going to go borrow my friend's copy and play through the intro again really quickly. Matt, there's a continuity error in the video. Your hair is... I know. I needed a haircut, okay? I was fully expecting Skyward Sword HD to not change that much. A part of me was dreading playing this opening again because it was going to take me another 2 hours. But then I was able to skip cutscenes. And floating text boxes showed up instead of tutorials. I literally said in this video, before I played Skyward Sword HD, that they should do that instead of having a character tell you. The Switch version makes every tutorial optional, except for 3. The text boxes go by so quickly in this version that for the tutorials you have to do, they're done so quickly. They changed the issue I had with them in the original release. There, you can only fast forward them. But now, you can mash through them. The only text boxes that you can't mash through are the cutscene ones. But skipping through those would be like skipping through subtitles. If you don't care what's going on, you can mash through dialogue and then just skip the cutscenes for when you can't. It moves so quickly, I finished this opening on Switch in like half an hour. Every tutorial that I got annoyed at in the first part are gone. You can skip the cat, the kid no longer interrupts you when you're going to meet Groose. The map one goes by so quickly thanks to the text box fix. The Sheikah Stone is just gone from the opening. I guess they fully cut it for this version. And the most pointless one, Fi telling Link to click a button right before he gets the prompt for clicking the button. And the only one you can't mash through feels less annoying now, because it's not the 8th tutorial you were forced to do at this point. Going through the Switch version, it feels like you skip stuff in an Ocarina randomizer because you turned them off. Fi's dialogue going by so quickly alone is such a huge improvement because most of what she says are just reminders. And now they're fully optional. From what I've played so far, this version seems to have the best quality of life improvements that the original could have asked for.
Hey, Editing Matt here to tell you to go watch King K's video on Skyward Sword HD. He does a great job covering all of the improvements for the game.
So this is when the video gets pretty awkward on my part, because I kind of planned this whole thing out under the assumption that Skyward Sword HD wasn't going to change that much. I had to delete so many of my cons for this opening. We're still going to go into my pros and cons list, but now it's more of a pros and cons list. I only have 3 small things I want to talk about, and one of them is the tutorial I promised I'd bitch about here. Again, really wasn't expecting Skyward HD to speed everything up so much. The saving tutorial. You can save twice before getting it. I get not everyone is at the same level of video game literacy, but I assume most players, when they see this weird-ass bird statue, they're going to walk up to it and click A. Then you see, oh, this is a save point. It's good game design because it's something that will just happen naturally. The best part is, when you talk to this guy and he gives you the tutorial, he tells you to go save at a save point you can already save at. It's just a sign that this game didn't know how to handle tutorials, which is fine because you can skip all of them now. I think another problem with this intro is that a slow burn like this fits an RPG way more than it does an adventure game. I can definitely see that being a problem other people have, but I'm kind of alright with it because I'm okay with a slower intro. There is one thing that Skyward Sword HD can't fix about this intro. It seems like it's trying to give character traits to Link, but I find it falls flat on its face. Bruce makes it seem like Link needs to stand up for himself more, grow a backbone, and get more courage. Cool, but there's nothing in the game that implies that Link doesn't have any courage outside of this line. Like, you could talk Groose in this same scene. Zelda is the one in this scene to shut down Groose, and it kind of makes it seem like it's commentary about a silent protagonist. The only thing that Link does that supports anything anyone says about him is sleeping in. But people talk about it more than he actually does it. Link being silent makes this attempt pointless. I never got the vibe that Skyward Link was a weak little man. Which is why I think in an RPG, this opening could have gone over better. A character needing more courage is a very common trait for that genre, and it not being a Zelda game would allow that character to talk. I've long since accepted that Link is never going to speak and get a character. That's what Zelda's for. So I'm not going to get mad at this game for attempting. I will call it out for failing, though. This wasn't even my biggest issue in the original release, but here in HD it kind of is, because they cut out all of the things that annoyed me more. Pros! I only have one because it kind of persists throughout the entire opening, but I kind of like the writing here. The amount of subtle foreshadowing here is nice and fun. The scene with Link and Zelda atop the goddess statue is easily the best for it. A lot of what they say in this scene is cool when you factor in who they're the reincarnations of. It's fun dramatic irony that these characters are acting as the goddess and her hero, when Zelda is literally the girl in the pic. Again, a lot of what she says in this scene is literally the ending of the game. I don't remember the specific wording for it, but I'm pretty sure there's a line that says, reunite the sky with the land. They even use the exact same framing in this shot later on in the game. The relationship between these two are just so developed for a Zelda game. We get to see more of Breath of the Wild Zelda's journey. Her failures and self-doubts make for a good story, but I just feel like the relationship between them is worse than what we got in Skyward. How they look at each other is so well animated that you believe their relationship when only one of them talks. More than any two characters in this series, I believe the relationship between these two. Their actions in this opening and throughout the whole game add to the believability. Another character that gets a lot of love is Groose. Everybody loves a Biff Tannen character. He's a douche, and the game keeps punching up at him. And then he gets a good amount of development. He's funny early on, so you get invested in him when he shows up later and grows as a character. You see him for the first time in this opening, and you just get why he's so popular. He works on the 2 flaws that the game introduces for him in the opening. By the end of the game, he ends up becoming friends with these 2, and it feels realistic. This man had a fantasy world built up in his head, and after he sees what the world is truly like, he makes an active effort to grow and help. It's kind of funny that the 2 most popular characters to come out of this game were the only 2 characters who arcs are set up in this intro and are mandatory to see through. Not including Fi, I guess, but not a lot of people like her. And for the people who did do the side content, they like those characters. All of the foreshadowing for the side quests feels so good. Only if you talk to the people that give you that foreshadowing in the opening and then do the quests later on throughout the game. The best example is while you're looking for your bird, you can talk to a little girl who says she's going to hang out with a special friend today. And before you leave Skyloft for the first time, a mother mentions that her daughter ran off somewhere. It's the most obviously set up out of the bunch, which is funny because out of all the side quests, I feel like the one with this demon is the most memorable. And then there's just small late game stuff that's foreshadowed, like with the bird's eye. My favorites being the one where the bug dude's mom calls him out for being so obsessed with bugs hours before you can even catch one. A lot of this stuff is super simple, but it's stuff that makes the world feel good. Because of it, everyone feels like they were living a life before the game started, and they're still living it when you're not around. It's not hard to pick up on this stuff, but it's a sign that they actually tried when writing this game. Unlike when they were designing the tutorials in the original release. I gotta end it here, man. This video is getting a little too long, mostly because I wasn't expecting the summary to take up so much time. Writing this has made me want to do a video White Knighting Skyward Sword because I legitimately love this game. You know, White Knighting? That series I've done once. After playing the Switch version for a bit and seeing all of the quality of life changes, I legitimately hope the narrative around this game shifts. Skyward Sword deserves better, man. And if the narrative around it doesn't change, I will legitimately make another video defending it. Although that's probably not going to happen until after I pick up the Switch version. Also, I'm going to take back what I said about this intro not being the best at the start of this video. Specifically for the HD version, I feel like it belongs in this series. Do you agree? Think I'm an idiot? Comment down below. Dislike the video if you can't do this part for some reason, like so many people on my For You page, and subscribe for more bad content. Follow me on other platforms if you want. Take care, guys.
Dumb bitch! You could have died! You're welcome.